Yeah. On My Shoulders makes me happy.
Hey.
You know that song?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's a good song. Good old John Denver. Yeah, it's a good song. I don't know if it's indicative of the weather here today in Florida, but most days it is. Most days it is.
Today, yeah. It's going to be 28 here tomorrow. So the weather is just going back up again.
Oh my gosh, 28?
Now we're getting a good summer.
Hot.
Good summer moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. Well, shall we begin, ladies?
Yeah, we shall.
All right. Well, a big hello to our Twitch users and viewers. Welcome to the Arghon AI Twitch live stream.
Yay!
My name is yeah.
The feedback on that. Oh.
My name is Paula, and I will be your host today. I am joined by the lovely Jess and the lovely Lauren. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. We're excited to have you all viewing here. If you are a first-time viewer, we want to say welcome. We are Arghon. If you would like to know more about Arghon, who we are, you can head on over to arghon.com right now. Click around the website, see who we are, what we are about, some products and services we offer to the public for free. Head on over there right now to check that out. You can also catch us on our social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Arghon AI. That is ARGHON AI, as well as our YouTube page. Our YouTube page has a lot of informational and exciting videos pertaining to the conversation of artificial intelligence, and specifically where Arghon fits into this narrative and the changing technological times. You can head on over to youtube.com/Arghon right now.
You can.
All right. Today is our Throwback Thursday. I will be discussing, and all of the ladies will be discussing as well, architecture today, how it was in the past, how it currently is, and what a future imagined with artificial intelligence looks like in the world of architecture.
Hey.
Yes, how we start off these shows is we usually have a random question of the day. So ladies, do either of you have a random question for today?
Just because Jess made a sound, I'm waiting for Jess to come up with a question.
Thing is, mine's always really difficult though. Right.
Go ahead.
I don't know. This is pressure. I should have prepped myself before. I should have known.
All these weeks, right? All right. Do you want me to come up with one to save you?
Yeah.
I'll save Jess.
Thank you.
All right. So this is literally happening off the top of my head. So there's no guarantee it's quality. All right. Would you rather have to eat one live snake, but when you eat that snake, you get, after you eat that snake, you get $1 million? Or would you rather have to find a wild bear and bathe it, but after that, you cure all cancer?
Oh.
Came off the top of my head. I'm sorry. That laugh made no sense. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I feel like I have to go for the bear, but what happens if the bear kills me? I could try and tame it. I could try and hug it. We could be friends.
You have to try and go and find that bear and bathe it. It's a wild bear.
Oh, no, I'm sorted because I'm small enough that it could think that I'm its cub. So I could literally just dress up like a baby bear. Sorted. There you go. Easy for me
Go
to
into
know.
its den and just rub yourself around and be like, yeah, I smell like you. It's fine.
It's your baby. It's just me.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
gosh. You know what? Both sound extremely dangerous. Who's to say this snake isn't poisonous and you'll just die while you are eating the snake? You know what? I'm gonna go.
I didn't stipulate poisonous.
Right.
I didn't stipulate.
Right. I'm gonna try to bathe the bear. Because who's to say I have to be like anywhere near the bear? Like I could just like from a building like dump
I
soap
did
on
say you
it
have to
and
go
then
into
like
the cave. You have to like find the bear. I did say you have to go in. You have to be in some kind of proximity.
I have to find the bear, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I have to like go into a cave. It could just be
But
out in the
I
wild.
said go into a cave is what I'm saying. I didn't say that.
I can't remember.
At least I don't think
That
you
was
said
my
that.
intention anyway. Like you actually have to go and bathe the bear. Like
Okay, then that's
you're
even
not like
better.
10,000 feet up pouring a hose. No.
I take a pressure washer, those machines, soap and water, and from afar.
You're gonna whip the bear with water because pressure
Yes. From afar.
are so painful if you're on the other end of it. So you'd be whipping
It's a
the
bear. It's a bear and it's curing cancer. So be it.
So
Is
you
the bear-
realize you would make the bear angry as hell because you're whipping it.
I'm very far away from the bear for it to just get.
We're gonna have to watch the playback. I don't know what I said, but my intention was for you to be in proximity. You have to go and like literally be in.
I'm not touching the bear. I'm not getting
But
that close to
then
it.
you're not choosing the option, Paula. That's the thing.
I am.
That's the option.
There's a hose involved with mine.
We've got.
You can be in the cave 10 feet away and use the hose. But the point is that you're not like at some massive distance. No. Yes, Jess, what's going on?
So Ashy D has commented, "Hello, Ashy D, welcome back. Thank you." Made a good point. They put, "Hello, I would pick the bear as I could tranquilize the bear and wash the bear while it's knocked out." So
it's totally within bounds, but the intention is still that you need to be near that bear. That's within bounds.
We like the way you think, Ashy D95. Thank you for that.
So
You know what?
go.
I'm going to enlist the help of Ashy D95.
There you go.
He
Do it.
finds the tranquilizer, tranquilizes the bear. I will wash the bear from afar. Same plan. But now the bear is asleep. The bear is now asleep.
Like a zoologist. Like you are like one of those people who is taking care of animals asleep. Like or like some who deals with like rhinos where they trank them and then they wrap them up quickly. Like you're still there, but like you have to
double dose of tranquilizers, wash it from afar. Cancer is cured.
Yeah.
Boom.
Hey. Wow. Well, thank you for that random question of the day. That was
fun. That's why the two of you need to come up with these questions because I'm going to give you something tough.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. No complaints. If we ask for a random question, you certainly gave us one. It's true. It's good. It's like that's what we asked for,
Yeah.
Ladies, are you ready to get into this varied world of architecture, history, Throwback Thursday, how it was in the past, how it currently is, and what a future imagined with artificial intelligence looks like in the world of architecture? We're ready?
Yeah.
We ready? Okay, good. All right. Well, this is a very rich and long-spanning history. We're taking it back to 11,600 BCE.
Like since people have been living in things, yeah.
We are taking it all the way back to the days of archaeologists and the stones that they found and what they saw on the earth. Whatever they unearthed, they found fascinating. And from that fascination, what they did was they would move earth and stone into geometric forms. Yeah. And from there, they created the earliest, known forms of architecture. The first example that you are seeing right now on screen is Stonehenge, and that was one of the first marvels of architecture. Um, Architecture, can be, it varies in shapes and sizes and what is actually making a structure, but this is one of the earliest, known things to be considered architecture. We are moving on. We are moving all the way on now to Egypt. We're moving along in the BCEs, we're moving about to 3000 BCE to 900 BCE in ancient Egypt. Um, the rulers of the time, they would, mandate the building of pyramids to be, they would construct pyramids, temples, and shrines. So architecture in those days, it was more. They didn't have so much structures to hold up arches. That comes later in history. The way things were built in Egypt, it was a lot of like mud bricks almost. So wood was not a common um,
resource
material. Yes, it wasn't a common resource or material that was utilized to build these architectural structures. So what they did was they used the idea of just making gravity work for you. So typically, the architectural structures had a thicker base and got thinner as you go up. Yes, and this made it in a way that instead of having to have everything perfectly geometrically measured out, you can make it work if things are bigger at the bottom to make sure that it is still sturdy, it is still airtight and sealed, because typically in the pyramids that was what they buried the kings and rulers in, at the base of the pyramid. So it's a structure that is airtight, and still that architecture was done thoroughly, and it was done by a lot of people. So this is a time we're seeing many people working towards one architectural structure. It could be the people the king or ruler has mandated over the project. This project could take months, even years at a time to build. Very Just a lot of manpower going into the creation of the architectural structures in Egypt, and really at this point there isn't a standard procedure as to how to do things efficiently. Basically, it is the king or ruler wants something built, assigns the people to build it, and it is built. It doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't matter how many stones need to be created. It's kind of like a work as you go kind of thing, as opposed to planning and preparation. It's just build that there, and that is typically how it went. These structures, as we are going to see the progression of history, typically it was a religious building, or something to signify status and wealth, and that is what we are going to see throughout history, as well as government reasons as to why these big architectural structures are built. All right, we are moving on. We are at 850 BCE. How y'all doing through these BCEs? We're doing all right? We're doing good? Okay, good. All right, we're heading to classical. Right now, classical architecture, it refers to the style and designs of the buildings in ancient Greece and Rome. So during this time, you had Greek, Hellenistic, and Roman ways of architecture. During this time, you are seeing the structures now wanting to be built huge and opulent and made out of stone, virtually unbreakable. During this time, you are also seeing math is now coming into the equation of, okay, how do we make this big structure be able to stand given the weight and the materials we are using? So you are seeing people who are now specializing in the building of these buildings. You know, it's not just you build this for me. It is you. Let's consult with someone on the building of this. Okay, maybe we should have a game plan as to how to build said architectural structures. So everything is kind of changing in the way things are created. You know, there's a little bit more of a plan and structure, and yes, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through Byzantine, Romanesque. These are all different kinds of architectural structure examples. As we are going through the progression, we are getting into no more BCEs. We're getting into just 800 to 1200 is when Romanesque was built. So from 1100 to 1450, we are getting into the Gothic style of architecture. This was in the early 12th century. New ways of building meant that cathedrals and other large buildings could soar to new heights. So now during this time, you are seeing steel, you are seeing metal, you are seeing, yes, stone as well, but you are seeing a lot of structures that, you know, you would typically see in modern day skyscrapers. Those kind of materials are now being utilized in the Gothic era of architecture. One of the examples of the architecture is the Cathedral of Notre Dame, Deschartres, France is where it's located. Lauren, did I just butcher that name? Can you say it correctly for me?
How is it spelled?
It's the Gothic Cathedral of Notre Dame.
Yes.
But it's Deschartres, so Chartres.
You might have said it right. You just would
Chartres.
TES. No,
CH.
The hard T was right. You just
okay.
probably with the R, you just roll the R a little bit in the throat.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. During this Gothic time, the drama, wanting to see the drama of these buildings, many churches had the Gothic style of architecture as you know, their standard back in the day. Also, St. Patrick's Cathedral in Ireland, in Dublin, Ireland, is another example as to what the Gothic era of architecture looked like. As we are progressing through history, we are seeing these are many human being missions to be able to construct these feats. Also, it is becoming increasingly dangerous during this time as, you know, the height of everything is becoming of a larger scale. So it's the same human beings who are constructing, even from back in the day, but yes, having professionals and people who are now being trained in the specific type of architecture of the time, that is something that is happening as well. But with the larger, you know, skyscraper standard and procedure of doing things, we are seeing that come more into play now. So creating also the safety procedures to go with such grandeur of building. You know, you are seeing the stilts and how everyone uses to build, and ensuring that the safety measures are in place. But back to architecture. We are moving on. Okay, from 1400 to 1600, we are going through the Renaissance. It was not as dramatic as the Gothic era, but the Renaissance was more a time of, you know, rounded features, and yes, still the opulence, but not as dramatic in the sense of sharp features of the Gothic, of the signature Gothic look. So the Renaissance was more intricately made. The buildings looked like pieces of art, which all of the buildings that have been spoken about thus far look like pieces of art, but more so in roundedness and, utilizing high quality materials to make buildings, and artwork being a part of the architecture on the inside. So utilizing gold and metals to make the paints that are going on the inside of these buildings. It's all moving towards, what we would call Baroque, which is from 1600 to 1830. And Baroque is utilizing just so much. There's a lot of gold. There's a lot of gold involved in the Baroque way of architecture. So a lot of these buildings that are being created, again, as we're seeing the trends, it is rulers of the time, it is kings, it is, monarchy that is making these buildings. A lot of government affairs are happening in the architecture that is being created, and also a lot of just these are where the high the
high status,
high status people,
like
these
aristocrats.
yes, these are where they lived as well. So this is the kind of shapes of homes that they are now trying to build for themselves, to emulate what the government buildings look like, what the church buildings look like. But the high status people are actually able to emulate these buildings because, they have the resources to be able to make something of such scale and grandeur. All right, ladies, we're moving on. We're passing through Rocco. We are passing through Neoclassicism. Okay, so Neoclassicism is the time of everything changing. I guess the most recognizable example of Neoclassicism would be the White House. How everything was going from, opulent and extravagant. Now they are toning it down a little bit more, focusing on the structure as a whole, just for it to be something that is breathtaking to see and something that looks very prevalent, but not as gaudy, not as over the top as it once was in the past. So yes, the White House is the way that was built is one of the prime examples of that. All right, there are a lot of different examples, but I'm going to skip now to the 1900s. Jess, what picture do you have up right now?
So I did have the White House, but then I moved to
Yes.
the Art Deco.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. As we are progressing in times, whereas in the past day of architecture, there was a lot of land to make an expansive, huge feat. Where land space, as you're progressing through the years, it's becoming less and less. Instead of taking up room in terms of width, now people are making it in terms of height. So you are now getting Art Deco buildings, skyscrapers. A lot of these examples, back in the early 1900s, you're seeing this a huge impression on the Western colonies. The United States is one of them, and we in the 1900s loved to start the creation of skyscrapers. You can see a lot of skyscrapers in New York City. That's where a lot of some of the first skyscrapers in the United States were built. And yes.
Wait, did you? Sorry, go ahead. That's fine.
Go ahead. No, just ask. Go ahead.
Okay, wait. I was just going to say, did you just say the colonies?
colonies. Well, Western colonies, but now
I mean, if
obviously
it was the 1900s, colonies have been long abolished.
they've been colonized. Yes, yes.
Okay. I wanted to know that because I heard it and I was like, that's not what she said. Got it. Okay.
Maybe it's just I should have said that past in the Roman, during the Roman era of architecture is where a lot of the Western colonies got their influence from.
Got it.
I should have mentioned it a little bit earlier in the broadcast.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Thank you. Yes, no, we're looking to keep it accurate. So that's good. That's good. From this, the architecture of Art Deco, we're looking at sleek and modern. That is the new way. That is the way we are progressing now into the sleek and modern look. We are also building buildings higher, utilizing a lot of the materials that were created with the Gothic period, the steels. The steel is something that was used to build buildings high because steel is very durable, can last for a long time, and typically once you build it correctly with steel, that's a building that will stay. Will last the test of time, you know. Okay, we are moving on to modern times. Modern times, how everything we've seen during our Throwback Thursdays, how getting back to basics is something we are starting to now see the more we progress in history of architecture. So from going to opulent and the Gothic times, the Gothic architecture to modernism, everything is a little bit more understated. Everything is a little bit more dialed back. Instead of it being for show, now buildings are made to last. They are made for quality. They are made for, you know, how it being built can affect the world in a positive way. You're typically seeing a lot of buildings being made to have the green architecture, and what that means, it's using a lot of materials that are made naturally instead of trying to use a lot of synthetic materials, but still sustainable in the building of said architecture. That is the way we're moving in the modern era right now. A lot of the way things are being built in the contemporary way, it is making the building work with nature, making the building work in a way that, like you would say, how cars have been sometimes created to be aerodynamic. Homes are now being created and buildings are now being created to work with the elements that come through, the seasons changing and everything like that. Okay. I think I've caught everyone up, but what I am going to add to the discussion of architecture and how it has progressed through history, from it being a big mission of a lot of people, from it taking, months to years to build huge structures. Now with the introduction of, technology and trained, licensed professionals who, understand architecture and what it takes to build vast different types and different sizes of architecture, everything is becoming a little bit more efficient in the production of the materials that go into making the architecture, as well as efficiently, making sure everyone knows what they have to do. So not everyone is going to be on a construction site doing the same thing. You have groups doing, the curation of the materials, you have the groups assembling the materials, and then you have another group actually building the structure. And there are a lot of safety procedures that are now overseen throughout the building of any architecture. It has all progressed through the years for that to be something that it's not just about creating the building, but ensuring the safety of those involved in creating the building is of utmost importance today. Ladies, what are your thoughts on architecture, how it was in the past, and catching it up all the way to how it currently is?
So yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Every topic we speak about on Thursday sort of has this rich history, and I think it's just it's kind of always interesting going back in the past and just thinking like with Stonehenge and the pyramids and stuff, how they were literally just making people work. There was no plan. It was just kind of like, this is my vision,
Right.
build it. And it kind of scares me about how the people, would build these pyramids and there was no concern for their safety. So I'm very grateful that, as you were saying, in this day and age, that is taken very seriously. People are actually trained in this area.
Right.
But I think, I just think it is interesting that, as you go through the different styles and all of that, how this creativity is now coming into architecture. I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but I think just hearing, you go through that brief history is really interesting. And I just can't wait sort of to see how AI is going to kind of add to that. But obviously I'm not going to go too far into it because that's for in a minute.
I just wanted to make a quick correction to make sure that because this is a lot of information, Paula, and like really good job. Like this is literally from the time humans existed in shelters till now.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Like, very, very big topic. I just want to make sure, because I know that people watching us in the future are gonna, you're gonna have some of those people out there who are like the real specific, like there wasn't a hair in the right spot.
The nitpickers, yes, yes.
So I just want to make sure that we just kind of like nail something down. So I think one of the things that we were saying before was that like the pyramids, specifically in dealing with the pyramids, that there wasn't a whole lot of sophistication. But I want us to just put things in context and for people to understand that we're looking at things in a context, because for the time and the space that they were built in, they were actually extreme marvels of engineering and creation. And they're still considered to this day, like the pyramids of Giza, the seven wonders, one of the seven wonders of the world. And we're looking at like it's an aeronautics and engineering site called Northrop Grumman. Info from and basically what made pyramids such a wonder was that they were also a step up from the kind of flat tomb styles that they had in the past. So from that was a major shift, and so they did have plans, and in fact they were actually some of the first foundation of what we even call engineering to this day. So things like they had things called Corvette Ceiling. So as you stated, there was the big superstructure at the top, but there was this kind of labyrinthine tomb structure underground. And so they had things called Corvette Ceiling, which is essentially that arch, that very sophisticated arch engineering. The stepped staircase styling of the stones was actually quite cutting edge, especially because they didn't have the same kind of precision tools. So that's when we got things like the cubit rod and the square level, so that they could create near precise 90-degree angles, which is, if you know anything about nature, 90-degree angles do not exist in nature. That is a human achievement. And as well, these buildings were oriented, these pyramids oriented almost precisely north and south facing, like along a line. And so for that day, there was they were extremely advanced buildings. Of course, yes, as you said, there was a building up on that, but upon that of skills and whatnot. But the ramps they used, the way that they excavated the limestone they used for these pyramids, these people were extremely advanced. And I hesitate to, and we as a company hesitate to kind of group them as more of a less sophisticated approach, because again, that's kind of perpetuating, and this is not you, this is just kind of the language about this stuff, perpetuating a narrative of, only Europe is where these expansive things happened, when in fact, the continent of Africa, which is where these pyramids are, you saw these really amazing superstructures, and the height and the scale are some of the things that inspired the skyscrapers we see today, in that kind of pyramidal shape in architecture, in Art Deco building stylings. So, of course, for the future historians who will be looking at this and kind of, saying, wait a second, that's not, we are aware that there are details. Obviously we are not historians. We're doing what we can to kind of create context. All this is to create context for when we're looking at the future of, of AI in the architectural space. So, we do, if we get anything, not just in this video, but any of the other ones that any of us have done, if there are details in there that are not quite accurate, make us aware, respectfully.
Yes, let us know.
But do know that we're trying our best. Again, she is summarizing, like, Paul, you are summarizing thousands of years of architectural history, which is amazing. So I just wanted to put that in there just so that people understood and kind of clarified, and then the other point I wanted to make was that with the Renaissance, there's so much more emphasis was kind of placed on the beauty. Beauty was a thing that they were coming out of some of the dark ages and lack of hygiene, lack of basically a much rougher existence, into a kind of newfound wealth, and a lot of that fueled by, again, colonies and going elsewhere and to certain continents to kind of bring it back. So, it's easy to, we want to make sure that we illustrate that there was something there that these people went and found as well to bring back to create these opulent environments they had in various parts of Europe. And that, again, a lot of the, as we see, the last point I'm making before I, hand you the floor again, is that so much of what we see as far as the history of architecture had to deal with, it was influenced by the values of the society. It was influenced by the values of oftentimes the chief among the society, the kings, the aristocrats, the rulers, the emperors, the kings. And it's interesting how, when you were talking about kind of going to this modern time, and how, like, when you talk about that neoclassical, which was still a reflection of the Roman and the Greco-Roman kind of styles of the kind of classical architecture, that, but what we see is that it got smaller, but it also got more personal, right? There's so many more different types. There was such a it for the individual, right? Not talking about just the, like larger buildings and stuff, but for the individual, oftentimes it went from like cave to hut to cottage to house, right? But what we see is that there was this trickle down as far as what skills were at the top, kind of trickled down to what people could actually access. And so you see, even in the local environments, that the homes kind of reflected, maybe the slightly older but still advanced new technologies from the pop used. And it's interesting to see, like you were talking about, how nowadays there's modern involves kind of this look back now at what's natural, and not just the synthesized, but the congruous, the stuff that works with nature. Really cool.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Honestly, thank you.
No problem.
Yes, it's really good. And yes, what I so appreciate about this team is that, I am not all knowing, and
none of us are. Yeah.
Right. And it's good. It's good that you can add a whole different perspective to the history of architecture, because it is so rich and varied, and I'm sure, like, I'm leaving out so many important facets, but building a framework in an hour, it's
yeah.
But thank you so much because that is important and that does need to be highlighted. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Lauren. So thank you.
Oh, well,
And Jess, thank you for your insight and your perspective on the conversation of architecture today as well.
All right.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. So yeah, now I feel like from even both of your explanations, we have a more well-rounded picture as to how we have gotten to modern day. And now we are going to be discussing what the future of architecture looks like, imagined with artificial intelligence. All right. So I do see the whole planning process of architecture, architects utilizing data from artificial intelligence. So maybe an AI has collected all of the data on, a certain land that you will be building on, the measurements of, you should put your new build here because, from this position, it can hit the sun at this position and make your house be able to be run off of solar energy more efficiently. You should build it on this land because this land is more solidified than another land over there that has seen some shifting in the past 10 years. With data, everything is able to be done more efficiently in the process of building. Not only finding the land, but acquiring the materials to having the full layout as to what the building process will look like. That in turn can also save thousands of dollars on the back end because you are building in the most efficient manner. You are building with the most efficient materials. Your team has also studied the data that the AI has collected for you. Um, in terms of architecture utilizing AI, I also see the whole building process from the construction aspect being a safer process, being something that AI will take into account the construction team's safety, what that looks like on the construction site, ensuring that all of the materials are sturdy, they have been tested and have passed a certain procedure to be able to be utilized in the building process. Ladies, how do you see AI coming into the world of architecture? I mean, okay, wait, what else I'm going to add is because AI learns from the past, artificial intelligence will be able to more efficiently create any kind of structure that maybe we liked from the past and still make sure it is maintaining the standards to be considered a certain type of architecture style while being able to be built in modern day time, which is so cool because I think everyone likes the idea of an older style thing, but for it to be able to be caught up to modern day times is something that's very appealing to me. To be able to have my mid-century modern, but it be a new build and it be a smart home and sustainably built and be able to fully and seamlessly be able to have my AI in my home and just connected, it being also a connected home, but still maintaining the old feel, I like that prospect. How do you all see AI coming into the world of architecture in the future?
Like every Thursday, I feel like there's so many different areas that it can come into. But the main one I'm thinking of, and it kind of goes back to Monday's episode, so you can go watch it. If you go to the videos tab, go check it out. But we were talking about a landscape architect scenario. And it was basically saying, imagine having a company that sort of has pitched this idea. And then actually, an AI being able to render or come up with 3 designs in real time like that, or in a couple of hours, compared to a human that it might take a few days to potentially come up with that type of blueprint. And I just think how amazing is that again, it's not just one design, like multiple designs and like hours you can have. And I think, again, it goes back to a past episode where I was talking about NASA and, that they're using AI to help build their spacesuits, like the backpack feature. And again, it's not any fault of us humans. It's just, unfortunately, our bodies only allow us to work at a certain speed. So the fact that, these engineers have to kind of design stuff to fit into these small spaces takes time. So again, imagine an AI being able to quickly figure out this scenario and be like, bam, bam, bam. You want 5 bathrooms? Not a problem. If you want an attic, you want this, all these different things. And I just think AI is going to help us so much in that aspect. And, these companies, again, it's going to save you so much money. Designs is going to come up with 10 in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool parts, because that kind of iteration, quick iteration based on parameters you've put in.
Yeah.
And iteration, I just mean creating new versions over and over again, different types of blueprints or mock-ups or what have you. I think that's really, really cool, and I love that it can democratize it. Like, again, kind of like that statement I said earlier, where architecture reflects the values of the society in which it's occurring, right? And what we find is that customization, but not customization like, oh, I want to make mine pink, I want to make mine blue, but just this idea of being able to be you.
Yes.
Like, and everything reflects your brand. That is kind of how our modern society refers or exemplifies customization. It's not so much what you heard about in the 90s. Like, custom in the 90s meant I got my name on it, or I got my color. I chose a skin for my CD player. That's one version of customization. But like, now, really, customization is, does this reflect my brand? Does this reflect my values? Is this me? And when people are kind of trying to build a home or make a home or find a home, one of the things that they're looking to have is that home reflects the things they value, whether it's being sustainable and eco conscious or conscientious, whether it's being in the right neighborhood, or if it's having a house that looks a certain way because it inspires you, or someone you like had a house like that, or there's this customization where it's all about, does my world fit my brand? Did I create this universe that I can now live in? That's me, that is me in whatever way the general person sees things. And so, what's really great is this idea that an AI can kind of democratize what right now is purely for the maybe the more wealthy among us, in that to commission an architect and a contractor and the building crew, to commission all of those things, and then to build something based on the 5 major points you gave the architect, and then that takes a lot of time as well as money, so I could really see this helping architecture firms offer a new service, right? In the same way that now people will be like virtual stylists. Like, I'll look at your closet based on what you have. I'll tell you should wear this, you should wear that, you should wear that. So now a stylist can consult with someone, half a world away, but they're still providing a service, getting paid, etc. And that person still gets what they need, which is the styling. You could have a similar thing where an architect is able to actually help and offer services to people across the price spectrum, right? So because that works in moments like the time that we're in now, where there's an economic squeeze, right? Where there's still going to be some people who want to get homes, but no, they're not going to be able to do the remodel of their dreams necessarily, hopefully, but times are tough. But imagine you're the architecture firm that's like, hey, listen, we offer these quick mods based on 5 or 10 plans or inputs on this. You can get one that you customize that matches you, right? So imagine an entire subdivision where they usually use 4 or 5 of the same blueprint to build house after house after house. But imagine, instead of it being we tell you what the blueprint looks like and what layout of a house you buy. Imagine instead you can go in and choose the variations, and then they build the subdivision that way, right? So then you have, suburbia, and but you are not in a cookie cutter situation, because an AI can iterate faster than a major firm that just is like, we're going to use these 4 or 5 plans. But for the architect, for the firm, they still get to put in the limitations and the parameters. We buy doorknobs from this company, we get our electrical from these guys, and we buy our window panes from these people. So what it can allow people to do is have things that truly reflect them, and simplify for the architect, in a way that still allows building the process of building these multiple things in mass, but that still allows them to cater to people's desire to have something branded and reflecting of them. So I feel like you end up with the best of both worlds when you're talking about that kind of individual thing. And then when you're dealing with larger projects, you're talking about being able to just the speed at which you can iterate, the speed at which you can say, no, I don't like that. Take the 4th floor out and put this in here. I want that to, we need this side of the building to have this kind of electrical. Because the thing is, it's not just what it looks like. That's decoration, that's decor, that's interior design, which is great. But there are also things like, what about the electrical plan? Where the basically the wire map of a house, right? Yeah. And being able to figure out, okay, based on usage, we need this flowing here, we need that flowing here, and we're gonna have to have this kind of wiring, because we've got this amount of voltage flowing to this part. And when you're talking about larger buildings and buildings that might have garages attached, industrial parking garages, or, and you're talking about, let's say, garages with electric vehicles now, and all that stuff, being able to kind of plan and map not just your layout, but the infrastructure, and an AI being able to really help you do that. Think about city planning and being able to figure out what is the most efficient way to organize the city, so that way we have the on-ramps from major highways flowing, so that we don't get traffic jams in the city, we don't get too fast a traffic flow going near school zones, to make sure that we're taking advantage of the park, but we're not allowing so much traffic next to it that there's too much pollution, and that's fucking with the environment. Excuse my language. There's so much that AI can do when it comes to the design and layout, the architecture of things, from the smallest individual home all the way out to cities and city maps and planning, and countries, countries that want to, think about the fact that there are developing nations right now who are developing in a time when they're coexisting with artificial intelligence, right? So, imagine these cities building the power grid of their city tied with AI, right? And so, stop lines, lights, and fountain works and different things in the town can be, in the city or whatever, the municipality, can be managed and maintained by an AI, right? So when you're going from building and you're making sure there's certain efficiencies or certain sensors and activated things that allow for the AI to help manage, control, so on and so forth, all of these things, the possibilities are stupidly endless, like amazingly endless. There's just so much, and I actually really like architecture, so I might have nerded out a bit this episode.
Okay.
No, it's perfect.
It's just, there's just so much there. It is really, because you think about it, since we've had computer aided design, there's just so much stuff that we can now visualize and see. So imagine now with an AI that's got the brain to keep up with the computer, the kind of stuff that can happen. It's really exciting.
And I think also from like a creativity point of view as well, just imagine the AI coming in and, okay, it's been given the data of, 90-degree angles, etc., but actually it not having that bias necessary, where actually it can think outside the box. So actually it could design, these buildings that look strange to us because we've never seen anything like it, but actually, it can say, it still works like a normal building, it's still safe, but rather than being stuck to the traditional ways of architecture, I think it could
that's
be
exactly exactly just like that article, the space article you were with the suits, because their whole thing was an AI can try things and iterate in virtual, So that way, you can say, why do we make our buildings all square? Why shouldn't they all be, inverse pyramidal, or
Yeah.
entirely round or cylindrical, or put every building on stilts and make it cube shaped? Like,
Yeah.
these things that we don't even think about at all, because human beings want some level of simplicity and predictability. But an AI is like, well, I mean,
It
I only
works.
know what I know. What is predictable? Anything is predictable if
Mm.
I have enough data points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
So cool.
just like whole neighborhoods of AI constructed homes, and like the home is green, but the home is like within your price point because,
Yeah.
artificial intelligence obviously takes into account all of the circumstances surrounding, whomever is interacting or utilizing said AI.
Yeah.
Gosh, I really like this episode. I
Well,
like this
yeah.
episode because of the different perspectives, it's like it's almost opening my mind up to the possibilities of what artificial intelligence can really bring to the world of architecture. And I feel like, even in my research, I feel like I've just scratched the surface, but really utilizing our imagination as to what a world with AI and architecture looks like. It's
Yeah.
almost like, oh my gosh, that is possible. And
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, that is possible. Like, things can be done in a safer manner, more efficient manner, a more fiscally responsible manner, and
That's a good phrase, Paula.
environmentally. What'd you say?
You using the word fiscally responsible, that was perfection. Perfection.
Thank you. You know what? I just I just think that any place, any idea that is sparked through my mind of like, well, can AI bring this? It can. And it can bring it in a way because that's what AI was meant to do at the end of the day, which is help make our lives easier. It just is what it is. But utilizing data, because architecture, the history of architecture is so rich and varied and spans from many, many, many,
Beginning.
many, 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 many years ago.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go on that artificial intelligence specifically can use to really just build better, construct better, utilize your finances in actually the building process better, make it
help you
so.
predict help you also predict timelines within a greater, to a slightly greater level of certainty. Slightly, because obviously it's
Absolutely.
construction. There's always surprises, but yeah.
Yeah, I
This is a
mean,
good episode, Paula.
Yeah.
This is a tough subject because it's literally from the dawn of humans living in things till now,
Yeah.
and the future. So that was a big scope, this episode. So the fact is that we all do the best we can with these, and you bit off a big chunk. So well done.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for both of your commentary. I mean, I think that is really another reason. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but I just love working with this group so much that, where there are areas that, it's like, oh, okay, but then this, and then this. And it's like, okay, you have shown me a different perspective, but you've also given me more in-depth information about said thing, which actually gives for a better framework to be discussed as to what the future of architecture looks like with artificial intelligence, because of the further carving out, we are able to get a glimpse of what the future could look like, because artificial intelligence takes all of those pieces to build just a better future. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, ladies. It is always an honor and a privilege to work with you both.
And the thing
Seriously,
is,
it is.
It is. And the thing that's so great is that for people who are looking to kind of hear more about this kind of stuff, the fact is that they have the option, the opportunity, the availability, because we are on social media. Follow us at Arghon AI on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and youtube.com/Arghon. That's ARGHON. And then they can go to arghon.com, also ARGHON.com to learn more about this, because, you know, it's one thing to hear what we're saying, but it's another thing to actually go and use it yourself. So we challenge you to go sign up. It's completely free, and then start using that AI and really get a sense for all these wonderful things that we're talking about, because, you know, it's not just what we say here. There's so much, as was mentioned, there's so many things that it can touch, so many different areas that AI will help to revolutionize and improve, and so many new partnerships that can be made. So it's you know, go and sign up and create your account today, and follow us on social so we can continue this conversation, and you can hear more about the amazing stuff that you know, the team here is cooking up.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. Just it's a trajectory shifting kind of idea, artificial intelligence in any sector of business and life. It is like, it's not just neighborhoods. As I'm thinking of it, I'm like, it's not just neighborhoods. It can be whole villages. It can be countries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be, what does a country look like that has been built solely with the use of artificial intelligence? Like, what does that look like? It sparks a lot of things. But what I am so encouraged about is I've learned a lot today. I hope you ladies have learned a little bit more today too. And those who are viewing, I hope that you have enjoyed this educational and informational show. You know, in life, it's important to always continue learning. And I've learned a lot here today. And if you at home are looking for ways to learn something new, if you're looking to learn something new for now, for the future, if you are wanting to learn how to be an architect, build your own communities, build your own countries and different places, and utilize artificial intelligence to do so, you can actually learn to code right now on arghon.com/Vision 2020. Vision 2020 provides you the educational platform, as well as all of the areas you need to practice to learn to build your own codes for artificial intelligence specifically, which is upskilling your life, which is, you know, fulfilling that piece of you that wants to continue to always be a student, to always learn. But what is wonderful about Vision 2020 is that it is free for you to use, as well as there are no prerequisites. You know, you can just go in. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have, you don't have to know C# or C++ or JavaScript. You don't have to know any of those things to just go in, click around a little bit, and learn how to code for artificial intelligence. Upskill your life today with Arghon's Vision 2020. Ladies, I want to thank you again for a lovely show, and thanks for just being wonderful always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our viewers.
Yes, thank you to our Twitch users and viewers. If you have any questions or comments on architecture and what artificial intelligence can bring to the world of architecture, let us know in the chat. We always have access to this, and we can answer you. Yes, if you would like to follow us on our social media platforms, on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, you can head on over to Arghon AI on all of those social media platforms. We have a YouTube channel, that is youtube.com/Arghon. From all of us here on the Arghon team, for those you see and those you do not, we want to say thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you all. And our next episode will be on Monday, so we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you then for another episode of Flags and Poles, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. British Summer Time. Bye, guys.
Bye.